Coming up, the Red Sox score 9 unanswered runs on the Yankees, and the Orioles might be the hottest team in baseball. This is Locked On Now MLB.
The biggest games, the best performances, expert analysis. You are Locked On Now.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Now MLB, local experts weighing in on the biggest stories in baseball. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every single weekday. Our Locked On hosts are here to recap all of the action for you from Sunday in Major League Baseball. We're going to start out with the Red Sox and Yankees, finishing off another weekend of the game's biggest rivalry in yesterday's biggest game.
The biggest game.
Sunday Night Baseball saw the Red Sox pull away after Yankees manager Aaron Boone's night came to an early end. Our Locked On hosts for both sides break down the nightcap from the day in baseball.
For the second night in a row, Jeter Downs helped the Red Sox to a win over the Yankees without Rafael Devers in the lineup. Hey, it's Lauren from Locked On Red Sox, and Boston came away. They didn't win the series, but they did not lose the series against New York. They ended up splitting this series 2-2, which is huge for the Red Sox without Rafael Devers, down a whole bunch of pitchers, but the offense turned it on, and the last two games were crucial wins for the Red Sox, especially Jeter Downs, who was recalled late Saturday night. He made the difference in Saturday and Sunday's win. Jake and I will break all of this down for you on Monday's episode of Locked On Red Sox.
This is Stacey Gotsoulias of Locked On Yankees, and the Yankees lost to the Red Sox. Who cares? Who cares? Everyone who's flipping out about this, who cares? The Red Sox didn't gain any ground because it was a split. Okay? They're still 14 games back. It's okay. It's okay. It was a series at Fenway. The two games on national TV the Yankees lost, of course they did, because it was national TV. You know how Fox games go. You know how ESPN games go. It's okay. Everyone needs to calm down. I know some performances were bad. DJ LeMahieu was playing like a drunk guy playing a softball game. The pitching wasn't great. The Yankees had a big lead. They squandered it, and then they kept letting the Red Sox score. I know it was ugly. Don't worry. We have an off day on Monday to regroup. Everyone can regroup. Everyone needs to calm down. I'll have a recap of the series on the next Locked On Yankees. And we'll go through all this together. It'll be fine. I promise.
The Tigers and White Sox went into the 8th inning tied, but then a costly error let Chicago take the lead for good against Detroit. Locked On White Sox reviews late game mistakes and how the Sox took advantage.
The Chicago White Sox beat the Detroit Tigers on Sunday 4-2. They ended up splitting the series. Thank you to left fielder for the Detroit Tigers, Robbie Grossman. He made a big error in the 8th inning on a Luis Robert pop-up, his first error in years. But the Chicago White Sox were able to capitalize. Big pinch hit from A.J. Pollock, and then a big hit by Eloy Jimenez. Liam Hendricks nailed things down. A nice 4-2 win. Sox now head to Cleveland, playing 4 games in 3 days. A critical series. And Lance Lynn gets the start for the Sox, kicking things off Monday night.
The Reds shocked the Rays by sweeping Tampa over the weekend. Locked On Reds tells us how one of the worst teams in baseball beat a squad hoping for a playoff spot all weekend long.
Tyler Stevenson returns and the Cincinnati Reds sweep the Tampa Bay Rays. Coincidence? I think not. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast, here to tell you about the fact that the Cincinnati Reds play their best baseball of the year this past weekend, at least so far. Hopefully they'll play better more often, but They get their man back. Tyler Stevenson comes off the IL for this weekend series, and the lineup absolutely reawakens and does some good damage when they needed to in a couple of key moments. Of course, the balk-off happened, but then you also had the walk-off last night from Nick Senzel, and with Nick Senzel, Kyle Farmer, and Joey Votto out of the lineup on Sunday, the Reds scored 10 runs, thanks to a third inning that was absolutely phenomenal. You had Jonathan India and Tyler Stevenson hitting a homer in the same inning, and not to be outdone, Mike Moustakas finally getting his 200th career home run. This man has been much maligned, especially by the Locked On Reds podcast, for his performance this year. But man, oh, you're happy for Moose today, hitting that 200th career homer. We're going to put this series, and really these last 8 days that have been phenomenal for this team, into perspective, because let's not kid ourselves, the Reds still need to be very active sellers during this trade deadline season, but this has been a lot of fun to watch this team win over the last couple of days. That's coming up on our special post-game Let's Have Some Fun podcast coming up here in just a few hours, and Steve will join me for tomorrow's regular edition of the Locked On Reds podcast.
The Tampa Bay Rays lost Sunday and got more bad news to add insult to injury. Locked On Rays goes over all of it after a loss to Cincinnati.
The bad news keep on coming for the Rays. IL stints for Kevin Kiermaier and Wander Franco. I'm Ulysses Sembrano, host of the Locked On Rays podcast. Those two names are the most recognizable names for this franchise in quite some time, and they're headed to the IL. Kevin Kiermaier with a left hip discomfort, and Wander Franco has some wrist discomfort too. Could include surgery. The two names that are being brought up are Luke Raley and Jonathan Aranda. Aranda, of course, has been demolished in AAA baseball, so maybe he can give a little bit of a respite to a struggling Rays offense. We'll see what happens with KK. We'll see what happens with Wander Franco. We can all hope that it's not very extended, but as the Rays season has gone on, it's been bad news bears. Anyway, stay tuned for Locked On Rays for any and all of this information. Your team every day.
Coming up, the Orioles have won 8 games in a row, and the Guardians fall below 500 with another loss. This is Locked On Now MLB. Today's edition of Locked On Now is brought to you by Bet Online, the #1 spot for all of your online sports betting needs. You can get in on the action with golf, of course, baseball now in the full swing of things. Whatever your fancy, just head over to betonline.net. Welcome back to Locked On Now MLB. I'm Kainani Stevens. Thanks for making Locked On Now your first listen every single weekday. The Baltimore Orioles now sit just a game under 500 after their 8th straight win in yesterday's best performance.
The best performance.
Hold up.
The Orioles are suddenly the hottest team in baseball with 8 straight wins and now a weekend sweep of the LA Angels to go with it. Our Locked On Orioles host tells you why Baltimore's stayed so hot on Sunday, while Locked On Angels is now the second host of the week to wonder how his team didn't win a single game against Baltimore.
That is not just a sweep, that is a mop of the Los Angeles Angels as the Orioles win all 4 on the weekend. They've now won 8 in a row, their longest winning streak since 2005. The Buck Showalter Orioles never had a winning streak this long. Connor Newcomb here, host of Locked On Orioles, as the O's lock it down on Sunday. And listen, even over this 8-game winning streak, there's been a lot of one-run wins, and the offense has not been carrying them. It's been starting pitching in the bullpen. Now, it's not like the Orioles came up with some crazy big hits. They did not hit a home run in this game. But 9 runs in this one was plenty to win the game, took advantage of some Angels mistakes. And really, this team found multiple different ways to win over this 8-game winning streak and over this 4-game sweep over the Angels as they win it 9-5 on Sunday to make it 8 in a row. This is fun. The O's are 1 game under 500. They could be just 2 games back of a playoff spot. Enjoy it, Birdland. Enjoy it. And I'll recap all the weekend action on Monday's episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast.
The Angels were swept by the Baltimore Orioles. What's going on, everybody? It's John from Locked On Angels. You know, the 2021 team played a lot of the season without Anthony Rendon and Mike Trout. Didn't have a great rotation. Didn't have the best bullpen. but they were not nearly as bad as this 2022 team that still has Mike Trout on it, that has a better rotation and a better bullpen, and somehow they find a way. They always find a way. They squandered the lead on Friday when Raisel Iglesias blew the save after a tremendous start from Reed Detmers. They couldn't get Patrick Sandoval any run support after he only gave up 1 run in the entire game on Saturday. And then on Sunday, they looked pathetic. 9 hits, 9 runs scored for the Orioles, and they lost it 9-5 against Baltimore. This team is pathetic. From the top to the bottom. Management, ownership, players, coaches, I don't know what to do. But look, I think the national media needs to make fun of the Angels. Artie Moreno needs his feet held to the fire. GM Perry Manassian can't pick up DFA guys and hope that that's going to fix this season. Maybe they've already written it off. Maybe they're already done with 2022. And some of us are too. And I know a lot of you fans are as well. But I'm going to talk all about it on Monday's episode, this sweep. Join me if you will, if you dare. You can catch me on YouTube or you can catch us wherever you get your podcasts.
The Giants lost their first 2 games of the series against the Padres, but finished the weekend strong and managed to split the series with 2 wins in the last 2 days. Locked On Giants is in to go through how San Fran pulled off the latest victory on Sunday.
The Giants salvage a split in this 4-game series against the Padres. Carlos Rodon, who apparently is not an all-star, throws a complete game on Saturday, and then Alex Wood, great game on Sunday, and the offense exploded. Ben Kaspick with the Locked On Giants podcast. All-star talk aside, the Giants really needed to turn things around, and they do so by winning the final 2 games of this series in San Diego. Wilmer Flores, who Eric Karros was talking smack about on the broadcast on Saturday, ends up going off, hits the decisive home run on Saturday, and then 2 more on Sunday, 1 against a position player. But man, Carlos Rodon was kind of the individual player who stood out the most in this series for the Giants. And really, he's the player who stands out the most on this team all year long. And the fact that he's not an all-star, it's a major snub. It's one of the bigger snubs in recent memory. Honestly, there are a lot of snubs around the game. Logan Webb was more of a borderline case, but Carlos Rodon absolutely deserves to be there, and he turned the tide a little bit for the Giants in this series with that awesome effort in the complete game win on Saturday. So we'll talk about all of this on tomorrow's Locked On Giants, where it's your team every day.
The Cleveland Guardians' cold streak continued on Sunday, and now the Guardians find themselves back below 500 and just trying to stay afloat in the wild card race. After looking like they could take the division lead just a week ago, Locked On Guardians fills us in on what's been holding Cleveland back.
I hope you'll pardon us. We're a little fussy after the Guardians this past weekend. If you missed it, the Guardians have now lost 6 out of 7 while facing 2 of the 3 worst teams in the American League. It has been a rough stretch, which has seen them now fall below 500 and are in danger of being passed by the Baltimore Orioles in the wild card standings. For Cleveland, if we want to switch to the positive, Saturday's game was a lot of fun, 23 hits, but the bigger story is Nolan Jones, the rookie sensation. Can we say that after 3 games? It's only 3 games, we'll have some ups and downs, but it is great to see a player who was taken off every top 100 prospect list after last year where he struggled with injuries that a lot of people had given up on at the age of 22, come in and have a fantastic debut in front of fans and family and have one of the easiest 457-foot home runs I've ever seen. Make sure to check on Locked On Guardians for more hot takes on this team while they are cooling down overall.
The Dodgers saw the Cubs put up a good fight on Sunday, but LA's lineup was just too good. They scored 11 runs to edge out Chicago 11-9. Locked On Dodgers goes over all the big hits from an offensive clinic in LA.
Well, much like Chumbawamba, the Dodgers get knocked down, but they get up again. What's up? It's Jeff from Locked On Dodgers. Julio Urias had his worst start of the season, one of the worst starts any Dodgers pitcher has had in a while, allowed 5 runs in 2 innings of work, and he was done. And luckily, the Dodgers offense wasn't. They came back, they were down 5-0, and then they were down 8-3, and then they were up 9-8, ended up winning 11-9. Just a great offensive day. Freddie Freeman went 4 for 5, had hits off 4 different pitchers. His one out was hit 110 miles an hour and had an expected batting average of 710. Gavin Lux had another very good day at the plate. all in all, just a really, really good offensive day on a day that the Dodgers really needed it because they allowed 9 runs. And normally when you allow 9 runs, you lose the game. And to win this game, to go 8 up on the Padres, who lost to the Giants again, it's just huge. The Dodgers ended up going 10-1 on this homestand, extended their lead from 1.5 games to 8 games in the last 11 games of this homestand. Now they have a day off on Monday and then head out to St. Louis to start their final road trip before the All-Star break. We're going to have a lot to talk about this game, this weekend series, and the All-Star news with 4 Dodgers so far making the All-Star team. So make Locked On Dodgers your first listen.
That's all for today on Locked On Now MLB. Thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every single weekday. Now that you're done here, make sure you go and check out Locked On MLB and your team's Locked On podcast. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Now.